Here we go.
Thank you.
How are you, Hank?
Remember
Hey,
that.
good morning. Good morning.
Yeah. It's the more menu and then record on this computer. I got it.
Oh,
That's how we'll remember.
I wonder if George was able to look at it.
He did a great job in this. He had to. It's like you're almost verbatim.
Yeah. You might get-
Yeah. It's only-
Well, I think that maybe they send you a link. If you record to the cloud,
Yeah, well,
I think you can access the link.
Paul did do something for Tracy to then send to George.
Okay,
I didn't go look at it
okay.
because.
Hey, did you all get snow after that rain? Did it snow up there? No? Oh, that's good.
I
No,
want snow.
no.
What's the point of winter without snow? I wanna
It's gotta
ski.
be on the mountain.
I wanna
You
ski.
can look at it on the mountain.
That rail trail is perfect for some skiing.
Oh, cross country.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, what do you think of that, Hank? Somebody hiking their skis up Smiley Carriage Road and then downhill skiing.
I thought about
Yeah.
it.
The things I really feel like things are coming together in a good way with trails right now. I've been out of town for a little over a week. Does anybody know if Paul Colucci started on that bridge up by Port Bend yet?
I talked with Annie and I think they were gonna do it this week, but I don't know if the rain.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to start maybe on Monday, so I wonder if it got pushed,
Yeah.
but
That rain made a mess, right? It looks like my neighbor had to go pump out my basement, and it looks like my driveway washed a little bit. But how much came down?
3+ inches, I believe.
Oh, my goodness.
Here, that was just here. There was others that had more, man.
Boy.
I walked this morning, I can still hear the water in the storm sewer.
yeah.
Yeah. Any flooding anywhere?
Not in
Around
Ellenville,
here?
but New Paltz, I think, had a lot.
Well, that's normal, yeah,
Yeah.
the fields there.
Hmm.
Springtown Road area. I know basements were flooding here, because I saw, I see them pumping them out, yeah. It's kind of a normal thing, because it's the same, like, it's the same two houses on my normal route.
There's, I sent Annie some photos, but there's one section of the rail trail that got washed out.
Oh,
And-
yeah?
Yeah, it's that rocky, it's like a rocky bed right behind that house that's close to the trail on the Ellenville side before the bridge.
Oh, right before the bridge? Yeah,
Yeah.
they do that. That's where Shingle Gully kind of dumps out and comes across Burn Road. That's always been a problem. Probably always will be.
Yeah,
Is it, did it destroy it or just take some of the top off?
pretty bad. It's like,
Yeah.
it's completely gone and the rock bed is exposed again.
Yeah.
We're at that one. So we're only, still have only got 4, but 3 more.
Recording in progress.
Trying to think if anybody even said they couldn't be here.
No, nobody said. They all said they come around and, Lisa.
Yeah. Great.
They even showed up.
Yeah, dog. So, let's see. George. George, Doug, Dad, Lisa.
Lisa said she was coming.
Yeah.
I s-
How many do we need for a quorum?
6. We got 4.
We have 5, I think.
4. Grace isn't.
Oh, you're not in yet. When are you officially in January?
Think so.
Grace had just told me that they have 2 applicants now, so you're in competition. The first time ever.
Shocking.
We only have one open?
I thought there were 2 open.
Well,
spots.
George has said he's not gonna renew. He said
Oh,
that.
and Dean has been appointed, she's not here either.
She said she can, she emailed this morning.
Oh, really? I didn't even look.
Yeah.
Well, how is that she, I mean, she part of the Brothers Club, is Dina, that she's here?
No.
No?
I don't know. Shit.
Okay.
She,
There's,
oh, there's George. One more, come on.
the first meeting, and she can't make it.
Not a good sign.
Not a good sign, exactly.
Yeah, because she's replaced,
Rogers, so how long is Rogers, currently?
2 more, I believe.
Hmm?
2 more years.
2 more years. And
I just sent in my renewal letter of interest for next.
Still with us.
Yeah.
I think the other person that applied for Town of Warsing is John Adams, who lives he lives right on the rail trail there by Port Bend Road. John mentioned to me that he had applied.
Cool.
Okay,
As we-
we still need 1 more. We're getting a full house here, but we don't have a quorum.
There's it.
Now, there's it, all right.
Yay.
Thanks, Ed. All right, we'll get going. Good morning, everybody, on this cold day. So first up will be the November minutes. Anybody have any edits? Actually, I'm gonna probably, you didn't really fill out an application, did you, Grace? It was kind of a letter of interest or what?
No, I filled something out, I think.
Okay, all right, I'll leave it as application then. Are there any other?
I make a motion
Edits,
to approve the minutes as written.
Martin makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Alina, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Carolyn Peters Baker. Joined the meeting.
Oh, there you
Unanimous.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Martin and
Martin
then
and
Alina,
Alina, second.
Unanimous.
go. Carolyn,
Yeah, I think so. Good morning, Carolyn.
Morning, Carolyn.
Hi, good morning.
You don't have any, this is in retrospect, but you don't have any, changes to the minutes, do you? For November?
No, I do. Nope.
All right, next up, just go quick, the village did appoint Dina Stratton to fill Roger Buckwalter's term, and as somebody read, she wasn't gonna be able to make it this morning. And I put in my renewal, and there's 2 applications in for the town, so I'm assuming they'll decide if the first meeting in January, if not sooner. Okay, so any further discussion there? No? All right, let's welcome our guest, Mr. Mark Guzak. Good morning, Mark.
Morning.
Welcome, Mark.
Floor is yours, sir.
So basically, my dad, we've been here since 83, 84, over on Mine Lane. We have a business over there. And my dad passed away January or June of 22. And, we saw you guys were reconstructing the Berman Park. And, our family would like to donate the business family to the project. And, had a little discussion back and forth, email. And my mom would try to buy like a specific piece of equipment for the park. And then in memory of my brother and my dad.
Amazing.
Awesome.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's no dollar amount specific or anything. I know you guys need something in the larger, for the older kids. So I don't know what brand you dealt with on the other ones, or if you're sticking with a specific company. But if you guys can let me know what direction, and then I can review stuff with my mom, and I'm actually getting my kids involved so they understand the donating process, so that they can help pick something out.
How old are your kids?
14, 12, 9, and 6.
Our target audience. So that's our That is awesome.
So I'm assuming he talked to, who was overlooking that,
I think
Terry?
I think what we should do is our little subcommittee
Yeah.
for Burn Run Park. So we received a county grant with the village and the town, and that's where the improvements have been, why the improvements have been happening lately.
Okay.
And so we've just had this kind of modular approach of putting in the new equipment that's there as much as we can and kind of stretch the money. I think what we could do is put together some ideas for possible equipment, just run it past you and the rest of the commission.
Yeah.
One thing I sent, did I send it to everybody or just the subcommittee?
No,
Did
you
everybody get the fitness?
Yes.
Yeah. So for older kids, one thing I was like researching a little bit was like, I mean, we know they hang out on playgrounds and spaces like that, right? But they're not exactly like going down slides, like your 14-year-old probably is, I mean, maybe, but like that age group.
Typically, when they get older, the only thing they'll do is like swings.
Yeah. So I was researching this outdoor fitness equipment that is really popular. There's a park by my parents' house that has it, and a lot of teenagers are on it, and it's like, it's basically just like a free gym, and they have really high quality, like, they're the older ones that we all might know from like, the last couple decades where you see a weird piece of equipment in the park that's kind of ignored, yeah. But I can actually, I'll send it to you, but there's an interesting company that did a bunch of equipment in Morningside Park in the city, and it's like heavily used and really sleek and pretty cool. So I'd like to get your take, but maybe we can also just do some research on like what other municipalities have done for older kids. So that would be cool, because that's the age range I think we don't have a solution for right now. And the community's been really asking for it. Your kids will have to vet it more.
So are we looking at several pieces of equipment or one big piece of equipment?
Well, I need to look in more detail. Did you have a chance to look at the catalog?
There's a couple of different options.
Here, I can try to share my screen and bring it up.
Is this sort of like rings or something, or pull-ups, or even austerity, or?
Yeah.
Real nice stuff.
Okay,
Um,
it's really gonna, is there gonna be any room in the, in the grant for any of this?
I don't think there's room in the grant for this. I mean, there could be room for more equipment, but so what we did was we bought the pieces that are there now, the new ones. And then the next big piece of the project is to redo the courts and the fencing completely. So I think we want to get the final quotes for that and bid that out. And then we'll see sort of like how much money do we have left from the grant and what else do we want to do with that money? So I think we wanted to like kind of do base level improvements in both areas and then see what we could stretch. Plus, I want to get this poor street department a bear-proof trash can. I'm really committed to that.
And we've been exploring other grant opportunities too. There's
Yeah.
small grants across the board that may be able to, we may be able to tap into. We did get, 6 more pieces? They're up at the.
Yeah, smaller. Yeah, so 6 more pieces were ordered that haven't been installed yet. There are things like a tic-tac-toe that
Yeah.
kids can play and a musical drum beat sort of stuff, and still again for the younger, for like the 5 to 10 or 5 to 12 range, which, I mean, that's great, but we don't, nothing for over that age group.
Morning, Mike.
Can you hear us? He's there.
Yeah.
There.
He has that serious Mike Jeter look.
Yeah, very serious today. Jeez.
Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, no, this happened last time. So this just gives you a little preview of this one idea. So this company does a lot of different, here, wait, let's see. So if we look at this outdoor fitness one, there's a lot of inspiration here to be had. And this is the other thing, that it also could be a great solution for older members. It's like teenagers and elderly actually are the two groups that use this equipment the most. This is the piece that I actually think is kind of the coolest. So you got like all kinds of, and you know, it's modular and you can do a bunch of different stuff, but
There's a lot of elements on it.
yeah, that's a big one. I mean, the one in Morningside Park is not even that big, I don't think. This is a nice, like. I mean, and we have it,
That, like,
yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And they have these, so they have, you know, they'll tell you how to, different exercises you can do. And the thing I noticed is that because the one in Morningside is near my parents, I mean, it gets so much use. And it looks like it's brand new. And I was asking my dad, like, who, you know, is there upkeep that happens there? And he said, no, you know, they never really do any work on it. So I think they're pretty well made, but we would have to price it out and see, like. Anyway, it's pretty cool. There, this is a kind of neat, a really big set of it. But you can see, like, there's older kids on it over here.
Modern Venice Beach or something.
I know.
Yeah.
Watch out, Earl. Here we come.
Let's need some sand.
Oh, this is a cool one,
that's
this
cool.
kettlebell one.
I like that.
Yeah, where did that go?
Cool.
Anyway, it's a great low cost fitness, you know, no cost fitness for the community, but I do think maybe good for that age range.
So how much space are these gonna take up, and do we have room for these over there?
I think what we should do is go maybe look at the site with Mike Jetter and kind of talk about where the 6 pieces that are, that haven't been installed yet are all pretty small.
Okay.
And I think we should kind of like identify what the square footage is where there's still space to install in.
That one's kind of interesting with like the track and the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of really fun inspiration on this site. This almost looks like Ellenville over here with the gunks.
Yeah.
Is it New York or Norway? Who knows? Anyway. Okay, so we will,
What's the price range of some of these?
I have no idea. I mean, that's like, we gotta just sort of find it,
Okay.
but that's not even the only option. Like, I'm sure there's other companies that do it. That's just the one that is near my parents' house. So I was looking into it, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, go.
right.
Anyway.
Right, and I think there's an alliance that runs that park, so I can try to get in touch with them and see like how they did it and what their process was. But we'll see, we'll be in touch with Mark and we can like bring in some options from a few different suppliers.
Yeah, it's not something that's going to happen until spring.
That's what we
Right. We have some kind of-
time on this. It's.
I'm sure the other pieces won't be installed until the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else further, Mark, that you want to add, or we
No,
certainly
no, that's
appreciate your family's interest. Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Great.
And, the only other thing I mentioned, I was talking to Cat, he was saying we might need security, possibly.
We do have on the list, like, so once the courts, kind of the cost gets finalized there, one big thing on the list is lighting and cameras, just to
Yeah.
protect the investment. And I think Terry has a lighting contact, right? And we need a quote from them. But we haven't looked into the cameras at all, but
Actually, the police department is getting some, money for cameras for the village.
yeah,
And that's, they did a survey of it last week.
okay, so
So
it
to
would include the
to
park?
include- Yeah, to include it, because we want to get,
That would be
because
nice.
that's just an extension of the highway
So
garage.
maybe we'll get the cameras for free.
Different would be a grant, right? Assuming that's a grant.
Yes, yeah. There's a, yeah, because we incorporate that
Need
into
a list
the
too of
police
like the
department.
smaller items that we have
We're also
are like
doing it
nice to
at,
have, in case
I just
any of them
think
resonate.
Oh, okay.
Well-
Wow, yeah, I know, that's huge.
We'll take over stuff like that, show them good, so.
Cool.
So happy your kids are gonna be a part of the process.
I know.
Well, that's kind of, I think, a better opportunity because you have someone that age.
Yeah.
looking at the Equipment, so like, yeah.
Yeah, what do you want?
Yeah,
Right.
right.
What is-
Maybe we can do a site visit with the kids.
Okay, so you're welcome to stay if you have other things to do.
Oh, no, actually, I have to get back to work, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you
Yeah.
again, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a
We'll
lot.
be in touch.
All right,
Thanks,
bye.
Mark.
Have a
Happy
good day.
holidays.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, next up, I guess we'll, I don't, instead of jumping over, it, we'll just quick go to rail trail. So any further updates?
I think just one thing I'd mention is, there was supposed to be, if you remember our discussion, a meeting or two ago, we decided to talk with OSI and reallocate the kiosks and place one in the old downtown Kerhonkson trailhead and one at the sewer plant trailhead. And basically, you might have noticed one showed up on the intersection of Edwards and Canal, which was the original location.
Yeah.
And that was, what's the technical term for that? It was a kerfuffle. So OSI is, initially the thought was that one would get ripped up and brought over to Kerhonkson, but OSI found a few thousand extra bucks, and so that one is going to stay there, and we'll get a third one at no cost because those were purchased by the town, those cedar kiosks. So one will be installed at the downtown Kerhonkson location, like kind of going up towards Rochester.
I actually like the one on Edwards and Canal.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to.
It looks great, and I think they put that on a little patch of village property. I think a couple things occur to me about that. That maybe that becomes a location potentially for a bike rack, because that's kind of a good spot for somebody coming down the rail trail to lock up their bike and walk in towards the restaurants. And it might be nice to try and get a couple of I don't think like amenities that would be geared towards cars necessarily, but I was thinking of trying to get maybe a bench or a picnic table in there and possibly a bike repair stand. I don't know if anybody's seen those. They have them on a lot of rail trails. Anybody familiar with those? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and the company that we bought our racks from, they make them, they're pretty, I mean, they have a big, a sort of hefty price tag compared to the racks.
Oh, yeah.
But that company, I liked the ones they have, the Treetop people.
Yep.
They're cool.
Yeah, they put Treetop, Mohonk has a couple of those at their bicycle trailheads, and they're a couple years old and still looking good and functioning. But it just I think there's an opportunity there to to create a little gathering area for pedestrians and bicycles, and pretty that spot up. So I just wanted to kick that out as a potential project.
I like that.
Yeah, those bike racks were donated, the repairs were donated.
Yeah.
I was on the trail yesterday. Kudos to whoever invested the time and the effort to transform that trail into what it is today. It's magnificent. I love the signage, the O&W signage along the way. I think that draws your attention to it. I would love to see the village, Mike Jetter, designate some, strike out the parking as you get onto the trail by the sewer plant.
I think they're planning to.
You know,
They're planning
to
keep the name bars up.
because yesterday there must have been about 10 or 12 people on the trail. And I saw that they were a little confused that they were pulling in where to park the car, not to get in the way. And the last thing is when you first approach the trail from the sewer plant, and I hate using the term sewer plant, but when the Ellenville rail trail sign is reversed. In other words, it's facing, if you're walking onto the trail, the sign is facing into the trail. I don't know if that was intentional. But if you turned it around, people would then know what the trail is. I think some people may not know that. So
Well,
that's just a comment on that.
Are we getting a pavilion at that trailhead too, Hank?
Yeah, is that not installed yet?
No, I can't remember if it's installed. Is
Yeah,
the pavilion there? Oh,
a kiosk.
the kiosk, yeah, no, sorry, not pavilion, kiosk.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah, there is one, so I think maybe that one will have our.
And the fencing is great too. I mean, the trail looks much more welcoming today than it did a year ago. That's all I can say.
It's getting,
And just to follow on that, you know, one of the things I think, talking to Annie, I think one of the things they are looking for the village to do is, along that section of Sewer Plant Road and then the dog leg around to Warren Street, we have, I think Mike has a stencil and some paint for putting, what they call, for putting sharrows on the pavement, which are, that's something that's intended to like let motorists and cyclists know that the road is used by both types of means of conveyance. So that would be a good thing to do in the spring to increase safety and make, you know, just make the trail a little more bicycle friendly along the road section there.
I like that.
It's a tricky road there with the turn.
Yeah.
Is that is Mike on this call?
Yeah, he's there.
Mike, are you there?
Hear us?
shake your head yes, this means yes.
I think he's frozen, but the audio might.
I'll text him.
It looks frozen.
The other question that I think is a question for Mike Jeter is, one thing I've noticed going back there is that there's the sign on the opposite side of Edwards Place, not the kiosk side, but the other corner. There's that, it's like an advertisement for commercial space for rent. And it actually, like, from my vantage point driving, anybody who's done it probably knows this, it blocks your view of incoming traffic down 52 into the village. And sets up, I think as there's gonna be increased interest
And you're
and
talking about on the corner,
The
Canal
commercial
Street and-
space for lease on Edward.
yeah, and plus we have violations out there because they're not maintaining the grass and. everything.
Right, and I think it's too close to the sidewalk
Yeah,
anyway.
well, the building department's looking at that right now.
Okay, good, because it's a real hazard,
That's
like,
a safety issue.
yeah, okay, good. Is there, should I call or like, what can I do to help,
What, they just, you could also put a thing with Dan,
okay,
up there, because that owner
yeah,
that's not owned by Tony's. That's a different owner, that's
Okay.
why
I see,
they're getting violations for non-compliance.
okay,
Are bollards up yet or no? At the entrance?
they are.
They are.
Yeah, on both ends.
So does anybody know what they have left to do? What's on their checkoff list?
Well, the parking, I think,
Yeah, we're gonna be working on that part.
Yeah, it's
stuff, too.
us.
So that's under the village, but I meant for OSI.
I think there's more signage maybe to the village that they were gonna put up.
Yeah, I got some other things on that, because I had a long conversation with Bob the other day, yeah.
Bob Vanderberg.
And then the bridge on the Port Bend side that Hank was talking about,
Yeah, that's a separate.
but that's happening next, so. Which I don't know, I went out there a couple weeks ago, even that stretch is just amazing now, they've redone it right up to the bridge. And that's also on the long path, which is pretty cool, so we can like, you know, start to promote, but from Ellenville, you can get on the long path and hike all the way to, what is it? How far does it go, through New England? I don't know.
Those-
where-
Long Trail,
Long
Long
Trail.
goes up to like west of Albany.
Albany? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Can you?
Goes up to Thatcher, right, George?
Yeah, just outside of Thatcher, yeah, and it's like pretty common, there's a gap, but you can get on, the Northville Placid Trail in Northville, which is not too far from the northern end of the long path there. You take
Cool.
it, get around that.
So was that bridge the Metzger grant, Hank?
Say again?
Is that bridge funded through the Metzger grant?
It's through a DASNY grant,
Okay.
that Jen Metzger, helped us. Yep.
Nice to know it's finally beach.
Just one last thing I wanted to mention, now that the rail trail is getting on the ground, I feel like there's all these things to finish it up. But another thing that we talked about, back when, Roger Baker drew that kind of conception for the sewer plant trailhead is, purchasing, there's a product you can use on, hurricane type fencing like the sewer plant has, which is basically like a earth color that you kind of weave through the steel triangles to sort of screen, it sort of screens the, it would screen the sewer plant and the fencing, from the rail trail. And, I think it would be good to get an estimate for that product and, apply that stuff, because that's, yeah, and then it'd be really nice to get the village to rename the road.
Yeah, I thought of that, from Sewer Plant Road, you mean?
Yeah, well, maybe call it Rail Trail Road.
Huh?
Isn't the technical name
Well, it's
Edwards Lake?
Edwards, then
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
take the
Then
other
make the
turn.
turn.
Considered sewer plant.
Because I was talking to Bob about the O and W coming out of Sewer Plant Road. And then the directional going across the ball fields and then out onto Burn Road, so that the trail would actually go, it would not go out Edwards Place. Because that's kind of like, you're going through a junkyard, it's got that toward. So, keep with the kiosks and everything else on Burn Road. Just to establish that would be the O and W trail. Because that,
A harbor problem.
right, that's what we're.
Talked about that, yeah.
We're working on, that's all being worked on right now. And then what happens is that we'll have the directional to the Smiley Carriage Road.
So the Edwards, like the extension along Sewer Plant Road and Edwards would be like a temporary location of the rail trail, and when the village project gets completed, the permanent route would be up to Burn Road Park.
Well, that's what we were discussing. And that, in fact, we might be able to get that done sooner than later.
Mhm.
USS Place is just.
The connector between the Burn Road Park and the Sewer Plant Road. It comes across
Yeah,
that's, I mean, they're working full blast on that now. We might be able, because actual construction is almost nothing.
Yeah, it's minimal.
funding on that, so
No, we got it extended and everything, yeah.
you got the funding.
We're asking for some more additional funding because the original was 2001.
Right.
So cost going, yeah,
Yeah,
that's how long it is.
so I think we need almost $500,000 more. Judging by the current project budget. The difference is $451,696.
So that little connector trail?
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that. That's.
Yeah, no, that's correct. That was on Clow Harbor's last, their last.
That's why I keep
Are the updated
saying-
estimates?
Yeah, that's why I keep asking, because that's, that's a big difference. Our current TIP funding is $317,000, and the difference is $451,000. So do you know how much of an increase we asked?
Wait a minute. No. Well, OSI is also talking about bringing the trail all the way down to the O and W office property. So you're not really putting any bridges or anything. It's already flat going over,
Mhm.
and that would bring us right near.
The engineering cost, you're saying?
Yeah, but they had to redo that whole thing, because of money.
Well, maybe we need an updated project budget or something, because
Well, Peggy's working with Brian. We had conference calls on all that, but
recently.
yeah.
Okay.
To me, it almost sounds like there will be an alternative.
Oh, yeah, well,
You can go up
eventually,
to Burma Park, the businesses are gonna want people to come right down to Edwards and come right down.
Yeah, there should be both.
no,
Yeah.
right,
And
but
that's where the share house will be great for people going into the village too.
well, the big thing was the interconnect between the O and W Rail Trail and the Smiley Carriage Trail. So
Right.
that you can go all the way to New Paltz, Poughkeepsie, right out of there. And then, I don't know, who knows where, I was talking to Bob about it, the Somerset, where they figured out so far?
So I'm gonna resend Mike in my email that I sent you earlier this month. I have all these details about the updated numbers from Brian at Clow Harbor.
That goes to Peggy,
Okay,
because that's an already ongoing grant, it's not she's the manager on that.
okay.
I do have the 1952 original maps of the Nevele and where all the rail trail is and all the accesses. So in case they ever get down to where we're going.
And it just seemed like they were gonna go through the village, right, and end up going down Market
We need to-
Street.
We need to figure out which way, because of the fact that signage and wayfinding through the village is going to be important.
Right. And they'll be on the property at the Neville somewhere, Bob Vandenberg.
And you still have to figure out how they're connecting it going.
Oh, and they've
Yeah.
got, going south, I think they've got to connect, they've actually, they've got,
Oh,
I was talking to Bob the
yeah.
other day.
Yeah.
Getting south of the Neville looks like a good connection for
Okay.
that. It's, you know.
Because they never talk about that connection, like, so that's why I had to.
Didn't OSI buy that? Where the horseback?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
OSI recently purchased the section of the rail trail that goes from the Nevele down to the county line.
Okay.
So that part's figured out.
So I have a question, Hank. OSI, from what I understand, likes to have something, after the project is completed. Rather than before, so I assume that they would, plan something in the spring to have some sort of a opening of the new rail trail or something? Any ideas on that?
Oh, I haven't heard anything from them. I don't know what their plans are, but yeah, they usually do have like they usually have something where, politicians come and cut a ribbon and that stuff, but I don't know what their plans are for it.
I
But
met-
we'll have to coordinate that with them.
Yeah, they probably will contact Terry now, right?
I would think.
Yeah. When you walk down the rail trail, any washouts or anything?
There was I took a
Yes.
picture of it. There was one area that it appears to wash out, early on in the trail before the bridge coming in from the sewer plant.
Yeah, the one spot that.
It just looked like the water just overtook that huge culvert and just
Yeah.
pushed up, but it wasn't, everything else was unbelievable. I was like, every step I took, I was in awe at how great the trail looks.
Yeah, I had walked down it a week ago, so.
The thing that's a bummer about the washout is just that I think easy to twist an ankle, it's big rocks exposed now, and you probably can't bike over it unless you have a thicker.
Yeah, you have to get off your bike.
So it's like, I was surprised that happened right away, like that there wasn't
3
any.
inches of rain.
Yeah,
Peter.
It's
yeah,
actually,
Peter-
it's so that, as I was saying, that's where Shingle Gully, comes across. And if you, from an engineering standpoint, if you look at the catchment area up on the mountain, it's gigantic. And, to put it simply, was a known problem area.
Yeah.
And, it's the engineering cost and size of the culvert that you need to put in there is way beyond the budget of what the ARPA funds had.
I see.
And so even as it was being installed, it was clear to everybody that it was under engineered, I'd say. So
Peter knew
it's some-
that, right?
what's that?
Peter from OSI knew that.
Yeah. So we
Good
need to figure out how to find funding to get a better engineered solution there. Otherwise, it's going to blow out every time there's a 2 or 3 inch.
Yeah, okay.
So is that something the town can address temporarily or?
Yeah, that was a question I had of like, now that it's done, what is our process for upkeep on the rail trail or little improvements? Is it a stewards program or town?
Yeah, stewards could patrol it and bring it like Elliot just did, bring it to our attention. But for repairing that, that's going to be town highway department. That's the only people with the resources, access to loaders, rollers, dump trucks. Or the town paying a private contract. But yeah, I'm glad that, I'm gonna relay that right now I'm relaying that to Annie just so she knows that it blew out.
Yeah.
So, but we may, we got to figure out a longer term solution there.
Yep.
find another grant almost, or find something in the town budget, I guess, huh?
I believe, yep.
So, one question for me, these kiosks, do they have brochure holders?
Actually, I thought they did, but what they do have is, it's really not a brochure holder. There's a single, it's really gonna be appropriate for the map. It really is designed to just hold a large amount of one brochure. And if we wanted to do brochure racks on them, we could, because the backs of them are completely empty. So, but at the way they are right now, they really just have a front side, and on the front side, you know, OSI is going to be providing a kind of a map graphic. And there's also just a little, like a single brochure dispenser, where I think the appropriate product is going to be the map of the trail.
The O&W Rail Trail? one?
Yes, the O&W Rail Trail map. I think right now that's the only thing that we can display there. But if you take a look at one, Jerry, you'll see if you walk around the back of any of them, we
Yeah,
could put the same kind of racks we have at Berm Road Park on them pretty easily.
yeah, I've looked at them. They're more expensive than you think now, since,
Well, you can also have with QR codes. The QR codes work very well. Then you don't have to worry about
Restock.
restocking, upgrading, being thrown around and just trashed on the trail as they go.
that's
Yeah,
use a cell phone everywhere, that's an.
But everybody.
Well,
They have
on
some
the
Just for
Warsick
safety, we do
sections,
that.
there is,
dead spots.
no,
No.
there's a service whole way.
All right, I'll see if I got any O&W Rail Trail brochures in my, well, they're in the garage now, but see if I can get them out there.
yeah, just quick update on that, the O&W Rail Trail, the Coalition of Towns is, they just reached out to all the members, and we were able to get a whole lot more red on their map, and they're getting ready to redo that map for the spring. So the map will be updated to show, you know, all these sections that have been completed this year. And then also, you know, at the northern end up in Hurley, there's now a beautiful rail trail that connects Hurley to downtown Kingston that's in place. So that's on the O&W map as well.
I know, I think there's probably, we exhausted rail trail at this point. Anybody else? No? We'll go to the Berm Road Park Art Project. I think we covered that a little bit.
No
I think-
updates at this point. I think we're kind of in a holding period until we can start bidding things out in the new year.
Okay, Mike said he's driving, so he can't
Got it.
get in touch with us. Anything further, Ed, on the survey maps for Lippman at this
I'm
point?
still in the town's court. I think I'm bugging him.
So what is the problem on this one? I didn't understand when I read the minutes of.
It just keeps getting forgotten about or not discussed. There was
We have the
some,
surveys, they're done, right?
not for Lippman, for
For the other.
Camphor, that one's done.
Okay.
Lippman, there was, when it was discussed early on, I was like, what are we doing with this? And like, we're combining all the parcels into one, having a mock survey of it, so it's all known and established. But then it wasn't approved, and then it sat and it didn't go back to the board, so. It's just-
But I thought you and Hank were marking all the different properties out there at one point, so.
We flagged out, we had a survey done of one of the parcels because one of the bike trails crossed onto private property.
Right.
So we flagged out of that one small survey,
Small.
then that was posted so that biker and users didn't cross onto the private
Right.
piece.
And they've fixed that now, right? They've moved.
Yep, the
bike
trails
trail.
are rerouted but we're just waiting for the overall survey. Cause there's a few spots where it's a bit unknown where the property lines are and it hasn't been surveyed in a long time, so.
It depends on how they want to do the survey, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so if they wanna do a full lot line revision to make it all one parcel, or if they wanna have each individual parcel surveyed, it'd probably be cheaper to go through to have it all done as one rather than having each independent line surveyed, but I just gotta keep pushing. And it's fallen off, admittedly, it's fallen off my radar a bit too, just because of everything going on my job. But I'll.
It's constant hassle. Municipalities, surveying's expensive, and I've seen it in my work over the years. Many municipalities don't have proper survey of properties that they own. Many of them don't file deeds properly when they get property, and it's kind of just creates big messes when you go and try and put infrastructure in place if you don't know where your boundaries are. It's just my, that's my 2 cents. I think it's worthwhile getting surveys of all parklands in a municipality.
Okay, any further update on the dog?
Yes, I have dog park updates. So last time we talked about kind of like our 2 top locations being the Berm Road Park area that was identified in the master plan and Bob Mangles Park over off of 209. Mike Jetter and I went to the Berm Road Park location to look at it and kind of like talk about the clearing and grading that he had done and discuss it. I also spoke with 2 other municipalities who've installed dog parks, and a new kind of like angle to the whole thing was brought to my attention that I had not considered before. So very good to communicate with these folks. And that was the importance of being careful about any shared space or potential conflicts between kids and dogs. So best practice from these 2 folks I spoke with was, if there's any way to avoid a dog park and a playground being in the same area, it's something to really try for. And I hadn't considered that at all, but you know, I think we all know kids and dogs, sometimes that can be a tricky thing. So, okay.
Okay, whoa.
So that shed some new light on the whole question of location. And I thought that was really important because we do have these other municipal parks that are underutilized and don't have playground equipment basically. And Bob Mangles obviously fits that bill. So Mike and I were talking about that, and I think there's a lot of details and learnings from the master plan that we can apply to any location. So I think the good thing is that if we decided to identify Bob Mangles Park as our, you know, target location, there's still a lot from the Berm Road master plan that we can take into that project. So, you know, it's not like we're throwing that idea out or that that was a wasted component of the master plan. But given this detail about kids, I think we should seriously consider it. And so in talking with Mike Jetter about the space too, we actually started imagining if that, you know, we have this cleared space. So if you go to Berm Road Park and you're up by the pavilion, it's just to the left, right abutting against the, you know, the Gunks, and it's a really beautiful spot. And we were imagining, you know, when you go to a trail park in other cities, sometimes there's like an easy loop for like kids and elderly. That right now, Smiling Carriage Road, you know, you have that steep climb right at the head. That is not for a beginner or a, you know, basically older or younger folks are not going to be going up there. So we started imagining, what if as Parks Commission, we actually reimagined that space that Mike had put some effort into clearing, and you know, this is long-term thinking, but I thought it was a cool idea. Basically manufacture a little loop that would be a very short, but kind of like sanctuary oasis, very mini little trail that, that would be for people who aren't going to be hiking all the way up Smiling. So,
Or what's that, Lincoln Park already?
yeah, kind of like that little walking.
I think in the master plan, there is a walk.
There is a walking thing. It's, you know, it's a little more extensive, but we were just thinking like Mike's already done some work there. So also like if we didn't put the dog park there, let's not just waste what we've already put into the space.
Right.
And we started imagining, you know, you could do a little pollinator garden that's pretty hands off, where we could plant some nice things and have a couple of benches along the way and create like another use case that also relates to the space in the park. You know, that part of Berm Road Park is more about hiking. You have kind of like the more nature, I'm in the forest kind of feeling. So that was a big revelation for me. The other big update is that I got 2 quotes for fencing. So in the Bob Mangles space, the estimate is that we would need about 350 feet of new fencing. And then the double entry gated fence, and that's the minimum.
Then my question on Bob Mangles Lane
Yeah.
is, because it's so wide open, just put down to the creek, where we end up having a,
We would fence, so if you picture Bob Mangles, oh, let me share my screen again. Maybe well, I don't have a good thing pulled up. Bob Mangles Park is actually, as I learned from Terry, what used to be a softball field.
Yeah.
So if you imagine the gazebo is at home plate and the outfield is out along the creek. The piece that's not fenced in currently is right before the berm, essentially the outfield fence. So we would just close that like it used to be closed for the softball field. And, so I got quotes, and one of them is just an equipment quote from a company up in Pine Bush called Pro Fence Supply, and that came in at $4,315. And then I got an installed quote from the fence guy. It's called High and Low Fencing. He installed my fencing at my house. And that doesn't include the gate, but installed for the 350 feet was $6,500. So really reasonable. And probably these prices are not the full scope because there might be some repair that we need to build in the existing fencing. Thank you. But the other great news, so I think those quotes coming in at that amount are really good sign. The other thing that's great is our friends at Coffee have let me know that they're willing to pledge $5,000 for the project. They have garnered a smaller pledge from Hudson Valley Herbals. I'm not sure the exact amount, but it'll be smaller. And there's another potential, donor who they're going to ask for a larger amount from. So things are looking good at this point. This is sort of my full suite of updates. This brings everybody up to date.
anything in terms of the poop bags?
Yeah, so the funding will definitely cover poop bags and stations. And I was chatting with Mike, and we really want to try to get them also at Burn Road Park and around town, maybe even one at Mill Street Park. Like, let's start to have, I'm hoping we can stretch the funding of those beyond the actual location of the dog park itself. And Mike's really excited about getting those, and because, you know, people will take their dogs to a dog park, but still we want people to be walking dogs around the village. And you'll always see me carrying a poop bag, because I try to inspire other people about picking up the
And
poop.
most of them do.
Yeah. Also, I try to pay it forward. Now and then I pick up a poop that's not from my dog. I'm grumpy about it, but I do it. So this is the update. I was thinking maybe what we could do in January, if the weather is okay, is actually do a walk, like go to Bob Mangles and look at it, you know, do one of our meetings where we're on site or before, you know, like we did at the golf course.
Cold it's gonna be.
Yeah, you know, we gotta be hardy people. We're the Parks Commission. So, that was my proposal, is that we go look at Bob Mangles as we're kind of zeroing in on the potential there. And then I think what we need to do is January, February, if we can decide as a commission, the final location that we want to go for. We've got this funding from Coffee that they're organizing. Then we go to the village and or town. And I think, you know, we have, it's the town if it's Bob Mangles, yeah.
Right.
And so then I think we have we have an open forum where the public could come to this meeting, or we schedule another meeting and, you know, make sure we hear people out and sort of present the plan, get the journal here to see the full plan and make sure everyone's informed and.
Probably maybe even out of town.
Yeah, I think it'll be
Yeah,
okay.
maybe we do a hearing at the village board.
Now, is this Alina with a small dog park section and a large?
Well,
dog
I think
park?
based on the amount of money we could get, it would be awesome if Coffee can bundle together enough dough. It would be great to include like the small dog area to start. We can, from what I've talked to other municipalities and dog park people about, you could totally open with just one space, and then it gets easier to fundraise for more money for, you know, additional components to the space. So that would be the idea anyway. Remember, we had this idea of like, this is our V1. And, once it's open, then you can start then there's a lot of attention on it. And usually fundraising, once you have a dog park, is easier and easier. That's what I've heard.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
That's sorry, that seems like a really great price for fencing. Do you know what kind of fencing it was that you
Yeah.
specified?
Yeah, so with the Pro Fence Supply spot, they do something called a System 21, which is a color chain link fence. So it's a black coated chain link fence. And from what I've talked about with other municipalities and the few folks I've connected with who run dog parks through nonprofits, is that a 4-foot high fence is totally standard and fine. So I think originally in the Burn Road Park Plan, that quote, it included a lot of elements that I think if we did Bob Mangles, we wouldn't have to, factor in, like mulching and some other costs. But that quote was for a 6-foot high.
Yeah,
fence,
well, yep,
which is not required.
excellent, thanks.
So the one other issue to climb over there is the village regulation, no pets are allowed in there, so that'll have to get updated too.
Well, it's a town park too, so I think it might be a town question.
Well, whoever.
Town park within the.
Not yet.
Yeah.
So the village probably regulates.
Right now, yeah. But,
I don't think that would be a big deal if it ends
No.
up being a dog park.
but the town and the village, what they want to do is take the playground area.
Are you talking about Bob Mangles? Are you? He's talking about
Oh,
Bob Mangles.
that's gonna go.
Yeah.
no.
So anything
Has
from
the
town.
signs there, it's faded out, I don't know if you can even
I
read
think
it.
that would, yes, that has to be part of the office.
So there is it.
Yeah, there's a sign there. that
It's
says,
totally
"No
faded.
dogs allowed."
It's totally faded.
Yeah.
I go there a few times a week with my dog and there's only dogs people there. So I call it the unofficial dog park of Ellenville Wars.
Now, Lena, this is a question I have. So if you have, that has a small dog park.
Yep,
When you're looking at, the entrance.
yep.
Can anything be done to the left, or is that off limits
Well-
because of?
I do think that's in the park. It's unclear to me if that's on the same lot, or I think that was a DEC project
Yeah.
to dredge the creek.
There's pipes sticking up out of there.
That's from the Army Corps of Engineers, that's all.
But I-
All along.
Flood control.
So is that probably off limits?
I've been assuming it's off limits, and here's my take is let's say we have this pretty good dog park. But people start thinking, oh, maybe it could be world class. Once we have it and there's attention and we have some nice fencing and the poops out, then maybe it's at some point, someone's like, let's think about the space to the left,
Yeah,
what's
it's just
going on?
something that crossed my mind instead of having to segment
Yeah.
what's inside there.
Yeah. The nice thing about not going that direction is it does give a little bit of a barrier to the residential area. It's not exactly, because it's really, the residences go the other way on the L, but it is you couldn't really find a park like that that's more protected from the houses, there's a really nice natural barriers.
Has anybody ever done alternate hours, large park, even hour, or long doors even?
I don't think it would, no, I don't think it would work.
Yeah.
And I think with these fencing estimates, and if Coffee can raise the money, then I think including the small dog space would be awesome, and we should try for it in the beginning.
All right.
I have a question about dog parks and winter. How do they, my dogs have never used dog parks, but
Yeah.
how do they handle the snow? Do
Yeah,
do you clear it?
I think it definitely depends on the park, but usually it's not cleared inside the park. I think,
Okay.
in my experience, municipalities will clear the entrance like any park entrance.
Yep. Yep.
But no clearing inside, and it's basically just, free for all snow romping for the dogs. The dogs clear it pretty quickly themselves, so.
They pare down. Now, I'm just gonna just say this, because I do have a 4-foot fence for my dogs. I have probably 3/4 an acre fenced in.
Yep.
And a 4-foot fence in the winter becomes 2 feet if we
Yeah.
get high snow. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say that. And I
Yeah.
discovered that, thinking,
I think
oh,
that's a
forest
good
green,
point.
and then all of a sudden, my dog's jumping over the
Hmm.
4-foot
Yeah.
fence. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's a good point, and actually, depending on the funding, we can get the quotes for 6 foot and just, we should probably compare, because if we could do 6 and there, and
yeah,
you know, then that would be great to consider. The other thing I was thinking, Carolyn, is like, you know, again, with this concept of a V1, if we start with a 4-foot fence.
Yep.
And there's a
Yep.
lot of love and attention, then at some point in the future, we get a higher one. But I
yep, yep.
bring up a really good point that we should definitely get quotes for both.
What's the?
Yeah, and then also those kind of like those working breeds of, I mean, they can scale just about anything, but,
Yeah,
yeah, so, but I think it's exciting. I like the idea of the Bob Mangles Park.
yeah.
That fence.
Yeah.
How tall? That's it.
Well, the fence that's there is actually, I think it might be 6 or,
5 or 6.
I think it's 6 feet.
Yeah.
But I mean, and aesthetically, it, you know, again, with the V1, aesthetically, it's gonna look a little funny no matter what, because we're only installing new fence in part of it. So you got like old fence, and then you're gonna have new fence. But the idea is that like over time, it all would get
I mean, if
replaced.
they jump that fence, they're going to the berm and then to the whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these really great natural barriers there, because they, at least that, you know, it's like, it's tucked away enough from 209 that you don't have the fear of them running, you know, directly into the street. And then you have that natural barrier of the creek. But I think, yeah, I mean, from what I've talked to with people, 4 foot is like, is a standard
Standard.
height, and it's sort of to the dog owner to know if their dog is to be
A
trusted.
jumper.
Yeah. But, so yeah, I would like to propose that we go in January, weather permitting, and we could all look at Bob Mangles and, sort of talk
I
through it.
really think we are hardy here, huh?
Yeah. It's a, you know, it's a dramatic winter landscape over there. It'll be nice.
All right, well, we'll put that under consideration.
Okay, thanks.
We might have to wait till March.
No way, come on.
Well,
Or-
you don't-
or another
You don't
time.
go out in February, so it's either January or
I
March.
could be out of
Oh, did-
February, oh yeah, I've got a dog, I'm out every day, it doesn't matter.
You said you just, that's why I brought it up. Okay.
All right, any old business overlooked that we need to, Martin, here you should. And anybody want to bring up any new business?
Just one thing on volunteers. So I don't know if folks remember how we struggled to get a volunteer program set up in the town officially. Took several years. So the program is set so that at the end of the calendar year, people have to renew. So my plan was to get with the town clerk and kind of, I don't think anybody has filled out a volunteer application at this point, if I'm not mistaken. Have any, Carolyn, can you hear me okay?
I can, and I guess I'm gonna be on time then if it's January 2024. Sorry, I've been late in getting, Elliot is gonna be eyes on a portion of our trail. And then I have another person on the Port Bend section. And I did have somebody for the tail end of like towards Rochester, Cohonson area, but I've lost them. So I have Elliot, right, Elliot?
Yeah, yeah.
I think, and so I just have to get the forms, but I guess I'll be ready for the new year.
Great. Yeah, so those
that good?
forms, the forms are available. If anybody knows people, they're available on our shared drive. And they're also available at Town Hall at the town clerk's office. And I'm gonna get, my plan is to get Douglas's crew signed up as volunteers, because they're constantly putting in effort, particularly at Littman Park.
Yeah, it's
Just
for
so-
parks too,
Park-
not just the rail trail. Yeah, it's-
Exactly, it's for working in any of the parks, not just the rail trail. So just that update, and yeah, we'll start
that's
actually
For the
rolling.
volunteers,
I doubt it, but hey,
but we get modeled out, so what happened is the trail stewards or the park stewards all had vests with the logos and stuff on them, so that you just slip them over, even over your coat or whatever, but it kind of,
A
first of
little
all,
more official.
right, and, you know, so if somebody's on the trail and they see a steward, they're gonna say, well, did you see this or that? But they.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Volunteers.
I had actually made a note about getting hats or vests, so I'll follow up on that with
Do we have a list somewhere of the volunteers we have and what areas they are responsible for?
Carolyn's been working on volunteers for the rail trail, and then the only other really active volunteer group we have are the, Douglas's group that work in Littman, but they also work on the rail trail from time to time.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only list would be, moving forward, the list would be people that have filled out the forms and the waivers, and we can build a list. So my plan really is to just work on that after the first of the year.
I can also, I would volunteer for, do we need one for Smiley or the village part of the beginning of that hike before Smiley officially starts?
So Smiley Carriage Road is
Minnewaska.
it's actually owned in fee simple by Minnewaska.
Yeah,
And
so we don't need one there?
we organize the park organizes most of its trail volunteers through the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference.
I see, okay,
Maybe somebody for Burnwood Park.
right,
You have to kind of substitute for that.
right.
The other thing.
We have I have a little section of, from like Port Bend to the Rochester Warsing border, Elena, that I don't have covered. I don't know if you want to go that far out, because it's the tail end of the trail.
Okay, I'll look at the map and see.
That's more.
Yeah, you will end up at Mill Street, Mill on Main,
Get some
Yeah,
which is always a plus.
got it. Okay, I'll look at that leg and see if I can build it into my dog walking routines.
Yep.
Yes.
But we defined segments.
Okay,
They were actually defined segments on the map and then filled in with volunteers.
are you talking about Marbletown? Hike?
Yeah, well, it's the O&W rail trail, but then we filled it, so you didn't have a big, huge area, but you did have your segment that, your group would look at.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we have it organized, Mike. Carolyn's got the trail in segments, and she's been coordinating the efforts of the trail
Well,
stewards.
It just makes it organized.
Yep.
And then when you get a problem, you can also, then you relay it back to whoever's in charge of that and say, okay, look at your map, here's the segment, and here's where it is.
Anything else, new business?
Well, I just want to point out that, we haven't done any snow, but there's no official plan for tubing and, or skating or anything else at Steckler Park, and that's something that could be looked at, because they haven't done anything for that. The tubes are available, obviously, the snowmobile probably should be just serviced and ready to go, but there's no formal program for it.
No, not until the snow.
Well, you don't want to wait till it snows and then try to do it.
Well, look at Facebook. I know that's where they usually post it once it can go.
But we don't have workers or anything yet, so.
All right, just before we adjourn, I'd like to thank everybody for what they've done all year. I think this has been a very productive year overall. We're really going in a good direction, that's for sure. And we'll see who comes on board next year, and hopefully next year will be just as good.
Yeah,
A lot gets done behind the scenes that, thank you for. I'm still in the administration and so. If anybody else wants to say anything, we can adjourn. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'm not forgetting about the 2024 kickoff party that I want to organize. But we'll wait till January.
Let me close it. Adjourn then.
Sure.
Matt.
Elaine, no objections. We're all in favor.
Hey.
Merry Christmas,
Hi.
New Year, everyone.
Happy New
Christmas.
Year.
You,
How that, your blind thing.
I think